All right, good afternoon. Welcome back to My Sixth Sense. Listen, if you're watching, I see these bags here. We have had such a hectic few days. We've got the kids are back in school. Now we've got our kids are all going to different schools, different age groups, and it's just a little hectic. So sleep at the household is few and far between. Lots of early mornings, lots of late nights. So anyway, something I need to talk about here. We're going to jump right in. Seeing a lot of news coming out of Israel. I've been listening to a lot of long form. You can just call them podcasts. Really, I've been listening to a lot of long form interviews about this situation. They've obviously recently come up, and oddly enough, they're from Tucker Carlson, who seems to be, when it comes to America, not his nitpicky policies like pro-life and that kind of stuff, but like just trying to figure out why certain things are happening is becoming more middle, honestly, and it's exciting to see because you really don't know what to believe. I know that Netanyahu went on the Nelk Boys, turned into an absolute nightmare. It's hard for me now to ever believe any type of government agency. They have lost the privilege of our trust, and it is undoubtedly our responsibility to fact check everything they do because it's mostly all state propaganda, state-run propaganda, all of it, almost all of it. You know, you're talking about from the Epstein debacle to Israel. If you watch these if you turn off the television and stop paying attention to government Twitters of any country and start interviewing people that were there, have been there, have experienced it, have pictures, have brought receipts, and some of them have been slandered by mainstream media and people in charge. And what that shows me is that, they're probably onto something. If you touch something and it hurts, you got to go look, So it's like, if like this guy, Tony Aguilar, he had an interview with Tucker and then he's immediately slandered as like a traitor. It's like, well, okay, hold on. Why? I mean, this guy was a lieutenant colonel in the Green Berets. He was a senior commander in one of the highest levels of special operations and was discharged honorably. So explain to me how that works. And then you watch the content, you watch the long form content and the interview, and you realize you can't say after watching that, I just don't know how anyone's mind isn't at least a little bit changed. I worry for the not just Palestinians, but people don't realize this. A lot of Christian Holy Land, if you're a Christian, because it's come to my attention now. I mean, just reading and kind of understanding the situation a little better. We not only do we have a Zionist problem where in our government continually, if you've read any Mearsheimer, is acting on the behest of Israel when it is clearly not in the interest of the United States. And that's a huge problem because it makes no sense. And it is time after time after time, and none of it makes any sense. Well, some of it does. A lot of it doesn't. So a lot of Christian, if you are a Christian and you believe in Christianity and you believe in the Bible and you want to visit the Holy Land, a lot of the Holy Land is in Palestine. And it's slowly but surely being sectioned off. And I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, Israel bombed a church. Whoopsie, right? But yet we still got, people like Ted Cruz who believe that to be an American means we have to support Israel. That is, we don't have to support anyone but our own citizens, period, full stop. And if the interests of Israel do not align with the interest of our citizens, then we do not have to support Israel or anyone else in the entire world, period. And it's getting to the point where, I mean, listening to Tony Aguilar predict last week what would happen with Israel, he went over there and worked with an NGO And I will get the name of that NGO. It's like the Hunger Fund, or it's not the fund. It's an NGO that is supposedly handing out food to the starving women and children in Gaza. And come to find out, they're not really doing anything. They don't know where the money's coming from. They're handing out dry food, and Israel's not letting water in. They're not letting them hand out water, so they can't really make the food to begin with. These 3 or 4 distribution sites are not well maintained and not well run and not run efficiently. They're bottlenecked. And so it's all disaster. And it's just, for me, you listen to this guy, and nothing of what he says is what we're thinking is happening. And that's due to, again, state-run propaganda. It's very easy to clear up. I just got into a little conversation with someone on Facebook, and they used the Twitter that they used. The Twitter that they used is, okay, a Twitter picture they used. Hamas starvation. It's from Kogat, right? Looks, I mean, the picture, it's got a check mark, great check mark, so it's government, obviously. A thorough review by the defense establishment exposes how Hamas is misrepresenting deaths from pre-existing medical conditions. So you read this whole thing and you're like, oh my God, Hamas is doing all this, which is directly contradictory to what Tony Aguilar is saying, even though we should believe Tony Aguilar because he's an American who was a Green Beret and served his country for over 20 years. I mean, served it so well and it's so exemplary. He no longer has to pay income tax when they call him a traitor or didn't serve or whatever it is. I mean, that's just where it stops. And so I'm like, okay, so this is interesting. What is this? So I looked it up. We'll look it up right here. It was on my phone. So so when you look up the Twitter handle, and it's obviously an acronym. So, and it says the defense establishment. What are we talking about here? Okay, well, COGAT stands for Coordinator of Government Activities in the Territories. It's an Israeli military unit responsible for civilian and humanitarian coordination in the West Bank, which we know isn't really happening. And infrastructure projects and aid delivery. They're not doing any of that. So that is 100%. That is 100% state-run propaganda, if you ask me, because the difference between this tweet and Tony Aguilar is these 2 random pictures they have provided. I'll just share the screen really quick so you can see it if you are watching. So the picture they shared is, it's a very sad picture, and this isn't even close as bad as it is. I mean, I've seen awful videos from antiwar.com, which is a libertarian site. Great. Go check it out. Scott Horton runs it. It's an amazing, the Libertarian Institute is an amazing thing. But yeah, you would read this and be like, oh my gosh, Hamas cynically exploits tragic images and misuses them for false and timed propaganda campaign. It's interesting because this is a timed propaganda campaign. Like, can they prove this? They don't have, I mean, where's the proof? Right? I've got my proof that this isn't what's happening. I've got a long form interview from a guy who is super distinguished and should be heard. And again, all the pictures that the mainstream media used to slander him were pictures he took in Gaza, in Palestine. So, you listen to what's actually happening, and then you come back and you look at the things that people use to continually be these weird Christian Zionists who feel that Israel has the right to do just about anything, and that we are in turn obligated to push whatever they're pushing is what we need to, because they're in the Holy Land. But the thing is, a lot of, again, something else that I have learned along this journey, which we will circle back to Tony here in a second, after listening to Mother Gapia, who was on Tucker for a couple hours. She's a nun that's been in the region since 1996, a Christian nun who is again negating everything everyone's saying. Again, she is saying that pious Muslims and Christians live just fine together. Yes, Hamas like is a problem, but it is not the way that they are making it in the news. Israel is, if you didn't know this, a lot of the Holy Land that Christians consider to be their area is in Palestine. So, with Israel just moving through, I mean, she speaks about Israel just taking territory, just even away from Christians. They don't really care who it is. It's just they think it's their land. But the reality is they're splitting up Christians. Like there's some Christians that go to the school she runs, and now they can't go to that school because Israel has taken that territory and made it impossible for them to get to her school. And we're just talking like even their homes where their father's father has grown grapes or olives or whatever they grow, and they no longer can. Israel come and pull the trees up and take their land. And you're talking about peaceful Christians in the area, right? And so, there was just a video or two that I did want to share with you. Let's see if this is the one real quick. Just want to make sure this is it here. Okay. Let me just share this with you. This is an American nun who's speaking about Christian Zionists, which I know plenty of them, who just think that Israel is just the greatest thing. And this is nothing against the Jewish people or the Israeli people. Their government, there's a lot. Again, if you didn't even know this, if you don't read Haaretz or any of their newspapers, you wouldn't know this, but they don't like what's happening. It's just like our government when we don't like, okay, I don't want to be giving money to Ukraine. I think our whole country's on fire, but they just do it anyway. We aren't given any choices about anything. We're given this small little taste of like, hey, listen, you can vote and pick the next president, but that president's going to do whatever he wants. Quite literally. He might do some things that you wanted him to do, but in the whole scheme of things, our foreign policy over the years, they don't care about what the American population wants, right? They care about a small lobby group called APAC and Christian Zionists, and that's what we've been doing, especially in that region. And it's interesting because Israel has kind of controlled our foreign policy for the last how many decades? And they keep acting like, for example, Dave Smith speaks out about this stuff, and they're like, what's an ignorant comic talking about when he knows nothing about foreign policy? It's like, to me, that guy sounds like he knows more foreign policy than these foreign policy experts who have gotten millions of our people and civilians killed in these regime change forever wars in the Middle East, spreading democracy to areas it will just never happen. So, right. So we're just we're going to play this real quick.
Many Jews are protesting and saying, not in our name. There has to be much more done by the Christians in America because these Christian Zionists are speaking in our name. Someone like Ted Cruz is saying and doing what he's doing because he's following a Christianity that is not the Christianity of the Holy Land.
We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel.
It's a heretical belief.
What is Christian Zionism?
Mm-hmm. It's sort of this cruel bargain they have going with Israel, because basically what they say that they're going to be swooped up into heaven, right? And then there's going to be 1,000-year kingdom, and then there'll be the end of the world and the judgment by Christ, and he'll come back. This is a false, it was condemned as a heresy in 381, because basically there is no 1,000-year millennium to come, no 1,000-year period. We are in that time period now. It's a false belief there.
So basically what they're arguing is that Jesus coming the first time wasn't enough?
Yeah, and it's like, in a way, it's denying the
So there you go. Not only did he video a quote Ted Cruz, but that's the crazy thing is we don't need to support Israel. But there's something going on, and whether it be blackmail or it has to do with Jeffrey Epstein or something like that, where it doesn't really matter what Israel wants. Does it want to kill a bunch of kids? Here's some money. Go ahead and do it. The Tony Aguilar said, what he saw was going to happen is it's going to move into an occupying force and it's going to become bloody and nasty. And he said, I give it like a week, right? He said, I'll give it. It won't be that much longer until they're going to have to do that because they're going to try to cleanse the region. there, so let me find this article that I read this morning. Yep, here we go. This is yesterday. Is Netanyahu expands scope. This is from Fox News. Israel expands scope of planned Gaza takeover. Says Israel has no choice to finish the job. What does that mean? Finish the job. There's never any, hey, this is our plan. There's how many there are of them. This is how we're going to do it. It's just like we have no choice here but to finish the job. And in my mind and in Tony's mind and in this nun's mind, it's just cleansing the area. And regardless of if they're Christian, Muslim, or Hamas, they're all going to get it. She says in her interview that there are certain boys that come to her school who are Christians that at certain ages, they get a visa to come to America to study. Because at that age, if if this has happened a whole bunch, if they just look at a defense force guy the wrong way, they get shot. And you're talking Christians. So if you really are a Christian and you really like just believe that Israel can just do whatever they want and that Hamas is just running rampant, and if you think, I've said this before and I'll say it again, if Hamas has more power geopolitically than Israel, then you're insane. That Israel has been influencing foreign policy in especially in this country for a long time. It is not our job to do this. And isn't it ironic that when you talk out about it, I said this on Facebook, just because you don't agree with Israel doesn't mean you're an anti-Semite. It just means that you're probably just a human being. You're starting to see these accounts come out of Israel about this is not really what's happening. And the American people have kind of been duped. I'm not saying it's all not violent. I'm not saying that Hamas doesn't exist. I'm not saying that they're not an awful organization. But you also have to wonder how they came to be. And what's the plan to get... Okay, Hamas is just an ideology. But if you continually bomb and kill their families, what choice do these people have? I mean, even Mearsheimer explicitly goes over this a whole bunch. He talks about, when 9/11 happened and we were, they hate our freedoms. They explicitly wrote what the problem is and why they don't like us. And that was not mentioned anywhere. It was our complicit support of Israel. And that was one of the main things. That was the letter from Osama bin Laden. That was one of the main things, is our just relentless support of Israel. And you know what? As shitty as that dude was, and as awful as that guy was, and as awful as his entire group was, which, by the way, we're just giving them $40 million a month, or a week, I think it is, actually a week, which is astounding to begin with, and a whole note for another day. He's right. He's absolutely right. We do. Now, there are times when Israel did need to be supported, but it's been a long time since then. We have helped them overthrow regimes. We have spread chaos, destruction, and death in that region. And I'm starting to believe that they let October 7th happen, which is a disgusting thought. I'm not really sure what to think anymore. I do know that we have been lied to again. Not on the full gaslighting level that Trump is trying to get us to believe that Epstein was a Democrat something, or a Democrat lie, or a conspiracy. Like, dude, it's not a conspiracy. There's just too much to that. There is becoming too much. There is just too much to this Israel thing that points in the direction of we have been duped. We have been lied to, and we are complicit in this. And when he says things like we need to expand the scope of this, and Israel has no choice but to finish the job. If we had a leader with a freaking backbone, we haven't had one in quite some time. But if we ever get one, that guy should call up Netanyahu, or whatever part of the Likud party they need to get a hold of, and just be like, you have a choice. And if you want us to be there, this ain't the choice you're making. I'm a Christian. I'm definitely not a Christian. I am not one of those Christians who believe that murdering people is the right way to do this. And especially if the territory that that represents my religion is in the land that they're just moving in to turn into a beach town and cleanse people, which is also ironic because they always talk about the Holocaust. And how fucking awful was that? Their whole people almost got exterminated off the face of the earth by a psychopath. And here we are watching them basically exterminate a people off the planet by a psychopath. I don't know, man. If my suggestion to anybody, even my folks don't always agree with the way that I think. And, that's kind of the boomer generation, right? The news was the news and it's, you had to believe them, but it becomes very difficult when your news switches from stuff like this, where it says Netanyahu expands the scope, to watching long form interviews from actual people that were there. I don't understand how, like, for example, I don't understand how Ted Cruz can look at this interview with this nun and not go, you know what, she's white. We got to do something. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you watch these and not at least give it a thought and then maybe look into it. And it's also kind of just being like washed away. And the only reason Tucker can get these people on is because he's Tucker and he has like 400 million followers. Or like the only reason Candace can't be silenced about what is his name? Macron and his husband is because how many followers she has. And it seems to be the truth. So that's the whole thing is, if it's the truth, then it's going to be really hard to contradict. They get so nervous, whoever they are. I'm guessing it's the deep state or, whoever controls the mainstream media or whoever's controlling our government seems to get very nervous. And then you start to see things like, okay, it's so funny on Fox News. So here, let's get on, this is the page right here. This is that, this is Fox News, the article. Okay, what do you see here? Oh, here we are. Anti-Semitism exposed. Now we got anti-Semitism. Right? That's just this whole thing, and no mention of anything that Tony Aguilar said. In fact, they brought the head of the NGO that Tony Aguilar is speaking out against, and brought him on, and the guy just slandered for like the 20-minute interview, just slandered Tony Aguilar. Meanwhile, while he's slandering and showing pictures of like the great job they're doing, Tony Aguilar's like, those are all pictures I took, and you asked me to take them because of morale, because the morale of the contractors were so low because what they were seeing. He's just there. It's truth. It's the truth. And so that's why they're having such a hard time fighting this. That's why APAC, just like John Mearsheimer said, APAC is going to have to fight 20 times harder now that this stuff is coming out, because they have a real opportunity to fix this, and they're not going. I don't think they're going to. But, one thing Tony Aguilar did say, he said, once it becomes an occupational force, it's going to get really bloody and nasty, and he's not really sure how Israel is going to contain that. Which, again, in the last week, Tony's been right about everything. He has brought pictures and experienced it. And you know what? That interview was so good. He got into the military, served his time, did his thing, got out and started working at Lowe's in the Home and Garden Center. And then was asked if he, was contacted by a recruiter and to see if he wanted to be the operations director for this humanitarian thing, which is a huge operation. It's not just like giving food to people. It's like setting up the centers, thinking about rabies and like there's all this extra stuff to it. So it's not like he wasn't qualified, but he has been right. And then how are you supposed to negate the nun? The way that I was shown that, my thought process incorrect was using Israeli defense propaganda from the coordinator of government activities in the territories, which should just be believed at face value. You shouldn't believe anything the government says to you, period. I mean, even if it makes sense, which 90% of the time what the government does doesn't make any sense, it's even more suspect when it does make sense. Because then you're thinking, well, there's got to be something behind this, you know? Yeah, I implore you. I implore everyone who is listening, everyone who has watched. I'm going to release some of the clips to just watch. I will share the show in the show notes. If you don't like Tucker, I totally get it, dude. I don't sometimes do not like him either. I do not like some of the things that he says. But he is a great interviewer, and he's starting to make sense. It's like I posted the other week, Marjorie Taylor Greene, you know, there's a problem when she's starting to make sense. Don't ask me what's happening. I guess that's a good thing. But she has started making sense. And if Laura Loomer hates somebody, you're usually on the right track because she's a complete dumbass. And I'm pretty sure she's 90% plastic, but that's just beside the point. You know, watch these long form things. If your parents are having trouble with it, I send it to my mom. Just click on the link and sit there with your iPad and watch it. You know, maybe when they're coming for my daughter's birthday here pretty soon, maybe we'll get to watch it then. It's just so necessary. News has changed. The way that we digest news as a younger generation, I'm not super young, but it is podcast now. It is not turn on the news at night and watch it. We learned a long time ago with COVID or with the Iraq war, or, you know, it just, the list goes on and on about how many times they got, like, okay, you put their track record up against like Mearsheimer's track record, or, you know, all these other people who were slandered at the time. And you come to find out that, dude, the mainstream media has been wrong about basically everything in the last 20 years. And I'm not talking about like the nightly news report. I'm talking about like these CNN shows or these Fox shows that are just like really quick clips. They don't discuss too much, but it's just like, it's almost all opinions. They're most certainly always wrong. They're definitely wrong on COVID. They were definitely wrong on the terror wars. They were definitely wrong on Russiagate. They were definitely wrong on the laptop. They were definitely wrong on January 6th. I'm just saying, we have got to get this together. This is huge, because if we're going to let Israel do this, what's next? And anybody in the comments, make it make sense to me. I'm a Christian. I have multiple Christian friends. I have multiple Muslim friends, you know, and interestingly enough, this nun is like, you know, the pious Muslims and the Christians live just fine together. She understands that across the world, that's not always true, but in the region they do. You wouldn't know that if you just read the Kogat webpage or Twitter. You would think that like every Muslim is a terrorist and needs to be shot and put down. And what no one wants to talk about, I keep repeating myself and I apologize, but I'm fired up right now. I'm fired up, chat. Is we are in this position, not only in Israel and in Palestine, but all around the world with all these terrorist groups that honestly at one point we've funded and taught how to fight. We are doing this everywhere, and it's usually on Israel's account. And if you keep bombing a country into submission, I'll just let you know, like, I'm a father, all those fathers and mothers out there. You kill my family, dude, I'm coming for you. I don't care how, I'll figure it out. But you can't expect to just like, I mean, some of the videos of burning children or children being buried under rubble, their parents are dead, they're screaming for their parents. And don't give me that crap like, oh, it's just war. There's no war. They don't have any type of objectable measure of how they're gonna finish this. They just say they're gonna have to finish this. They don't know how they're gonna get rid of Hamas. How do you think they're gonna get rid of Hamas? They're gonna have to cleanse the region. every excuse in the book. So, guys, in ending, I'm gonna I'll be back next week. I'm sure something big will happen. If something big happens, I would definitely hop back on. But I'd highly suggest listening to Tony Aguilar. There's 2 interviews on Tucker and Mother. I'm gonna get her name wrong. Agapia, Agapia. I'll put them both in there in the show notes, and just start there. And if you are a Christian, you can't stand for this stuff, period. So on that note, enjoy your week. We'll see you next week or sooner.